Hello, this is Sarah Brosh. Welcome back to my channel. So I want to do a video. This is going to be another video related to the Yale talk about killing white people that happened at the Yale School of Medicine that I've already done a couple of videos on, by Dr. Aruna Khilanani, a New York City psychiatrist. It was called The Psychopathy or the Psychopathic White Mind, or the Psychopathy of the White Mind, or something like that. So anyways, I've already talked about this. Most people are aware of it. It was disgusting. It was anti-white racism, black supremacy. It was just gross. She swore throughout it. Not that I have a problem with cursing, but it's supposed to be the grand rounds at the Yale School of Medicine, sort of continuing medical education, just like continuing legal education for attorneys. And she just talked about her fantasies about killing white people and how she would be doing the world an effing favor if she did this. And it was just gross. It was disgusting and gross. And you replace white mind with any other race or ethnicity or religion. Well, probably it would have been okay if it had been the psychopathy of the Christian mind, but and it would be just widely condemned as disgusting bigotry. But because she's being bigoted and disgusting and racist towards white people, this is considered fine. So this video, I don't want this video to be too long, so I'll kind of go through this quickly. I've addressed the issue of blackfishing before in a couple other videos. So blackfishing is a relatively recent term that usually refers to when a white person is pretending to be a person of color. Most notorious example is Rachel Dolezal, who was living as a black person, was the president of an NAACP chapter, I believe. Was tanning her skin, and she was a woman who had grown up as a white woman in a white family with blonde hair and blue eyes. And so anyway, so that's the most notorious example, but there are other examples too. I believe there's the Albanian singer, is it Rita Ora, something like that, she, people thought she was mixed race because she wore all these black hairstyles. And people were actually surprised to discover that she is a white woman from Albania. But anyway, so that's usually what it refers to. And I've started using the term to refer to when what Tariq Nasheed is. This is something that gets him hot and bothered and upset. So he should have actually been on my side during the Living or Napping While Black hate crime hoax at Yale, and he should have been condemning Lolata Siambola instead of, participating in the witch hunt at Yale that almost got me killed. But anyway, so he abhors Kamala Harris for this reason, because he gets really upset when he sees anyone that he construes as usurping the struggle of American descendant of slaves, ADOS, and foundational black Americans. That's how he refers to American descendants of slaves. And so he sees Kamala Harris, who is the child of a Jamaican immigrant and an Indian immigrant who met at university. And so they were relatively recent immigrants, and so he sees her as usurping the struggle of American descendant of slaves, of foundational black Americans. And so I say that this is actually a form of blackfishing, and I'm referring to what Lolata Siambola did at Yale. She's Nigerian. She was this African, super privileged African at an elite institution, Yale, in the United States, and she definitely usurped the struggle of foundational black Americans for her own personal gain. She usurped the Living While Black movement and destroyed it by perpetrating the Living or Napping While Black hate crime hoax at Yale. Of course, there were many other hate crime hoaxes, and there are many other perpetrators but she certainly played a huge role in the destruction of the Living While Black movement by perpetrating the Living or Not Being While Black hate crime hoax at Yale. So I consider what she did to be a form of blackfishing, just like what Tariq Nasheed accuses Kamala Harris of doing. So the reason why I'm bringing this up in the context of the Yale talk about killing white people by Dr. Aruna Khilanani is that I also want to suggest that her talk was a form of blackfishing. She apparently, now I don't know this for 100%, but everything that I've seen seems to indicate that she was probably born in the US, but she is the child of new immigrants to the US. I believe that she is Indian. I'm not 100% about all of this, but I believe this to be the case. It seems to have come from a privileged background. She certainly went to elite institutions of higher education. She's a psychiatrist and living in New York City. She's light-skinned, obviously. Not as light as the typical white person, but still very light-skinned. And so I really see what she's done here as really usurping the struggle of American descendant of slaves, of foundational Black Americans. And so I consider her talk at Yale about the psychopathy of the white mind, and about, she talks specifically about about Africa, and about how white people are basically frauds, and anything that is good about humanity, about human civilization on the planet Earth, came from Africa. She doesn't just mention Africa, but definitely specifically refers to Africa. And so talks about slavery, and talks about white people as perpetrators, basically of crimes of humanity against Black people, against all people of color. But she seems to be focusing very much on Black people and the experience of American descendants of slaves in the U.S. And so given her very seemingly privileged background, the child of new immigrants to the U.S., and a relatively light-skinned person, I want to suggest that her talk at Yale about the psychopathic white mind was very much, my video was getting a little too in my face. It was freaking me out a little bit. Anyway, so I want to suggest that her talk was very much an example of blackfishing, excuse me. And yeah, that's basically, I don't want this video to get too long, so that's basically what I wanted to address in this video. In the next video, I'm going to talk about how most of Dr. Aruna Khilanani's talk at Yale, at the Yale School of Medicine, about where she described her fantasies of killing white people, and how evil white people are, and how stupid white people are. I want to talk about how I don't think people realize how much of her talk came directly from the melanin original DNA conspiracy theories, which are explicitly Black supremacist and anti-Semitic, and they're very much in line with David Icke's conspiracy theories about, the archons from the Nag Hammadi texts, and the Anunnaki, the reptilian, shape-shifting lizard aliens, space lizard aliens, that began civilization in Sumeria. And so my next video will be about that. And that's what I wanted to talk about in this video. I will have all of my fundraising links below, my PayPal me, my GoFundMe, my direct link to Randazza Legal Group. I love you all so much. Thank you all so much for all of your support and kind words and donations. They mean the world to me. All right, I'll talk to you soon.